This makes so much sense. And I had an immediate self-acceptance of the fact that I'm not actually lazy and that I don't have to feel tired and exhausted all the time. I'm just not utilizing my energy in the way that works for me.
Me, so I'll take the conversation. Let's set it up for Thursday. And Wednesday, I log into work and I have an HR meeting first thing. And I was getting laid off that day.
And what we found is we're reimagining roles. So rather than hiring somebody and sticking them into a very structured role, we can actually look at, well, what can that person bring to the role to actually reimagine the role itself?
Things. So understanding your energy type are those moves. That's the basis. And once you have that, you can build onto that in any aspect of your life.
Welcome to Going Goddess, the podcast where empowerment meets embodiment and divine feminine energy leads the way.
We're your hosts. I'm Silver Luna.
And Cherry, your chief empowerment officers and cosmic hype girls, here to remind you that your magic is not up for debate.
Every week, we're bringing real talk, rituals, and rising woman energy straight to you. Whether you're just soft launching your inner goddess journey or you're leading a full-on revolution, you belong here.
Let's go, Goddess.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Going Goddess. I'm Carrie, and I'm here with...
Hey, guys. Silver Luna here.
Yes. And today we have a very special guest, Lindell Stewart. Yes, Lindell, we're so excited to have you here. I would love if you'd share with the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Hello. Yes, I just got excited there and I thought I'd just drop straight in. My name's Lindell Stewart and I am a human design life coach, business coach, and I am the founder of the Inner Institute, where I help pretty much anybody in life or business to become more aligned with themselves through the lens of human design.
So good. I'm so excited to talk about human design. I'm sure our listeners are not surprised by that. Y'all, for a little context, I got my human design reader certification with Lindell, and it's an incredible free course, and it's still blowing my mind at the amount of value that you just bless the world with. And then you're like, we can work together or not. But like, I have already started doing human design readings. I'm so inspired by your generosity. So I just want to say thank you, first of all. Um,
So
and
welcome.
And it's so good and such a great model of leadership and something different, and especially in the coaching space. A lot of times it's like, as coaches, well deserved to be paid for the value that they're, giving out. But for you to just give so much value for free it's unheard of. So I celebrate you for that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes. And listeners, we will put all of Lindell's information in the show notes, including a link to the course if that's something that you're interested in doing. Even if you're not wanting to be a coach, it is profound information based on you specifically. So if you want to get to know yourself on a way deeper level, please click the link. Okay. Now let's get into the good stuff. Lindell, would love for you to tell us, how did you move from your earlier work? What was it? How long have you been doing this human design thing? What did it take to find the Inner Institute and focus on business leadership through human design? We just love your whole story there.
Amazing. Well, thank you. Firstly, I wanted to celebrate you for doing the practitioner certification with me and actually taking that and starting to use it. Because I think so many people are like, oh, but I can't do anything with this. And it's like, no, you can, because that's the whole reason I created it. It's like, this is what I started with. So it's so awesome, Cherry, to just hear you being like, I did the free program, I did the practitioner certification, and I'm doing something with it, which is my favorite. That's the whole point. So I love that first and foremost. A little bit about my story. So I started my first business in 2017 as a digital marketer. Just kind of, I wanted something was just missing in my life. I was kind of come from a corporate background. I got married, I became a mom, and I had a little boy that just did not sleep, and I was struggling with motherhood. And so, like, work was not working, and I was not one of those women. I wanted to continue doing something for myself. And I know a lot of people were like, just be a mom, just do that. And it's like, that's fine for some people. But I was kind of like, I need something that's something outside of this, especially because I felt like I was so in the trenches. And so he was 1.5, and I kind of thought, I can't keep doing this like part-time work thing. I wasn't even doing work that I loved. So I was like, this makes no sense that I'm taking time out of my life to do things I don't really enjoy. I'm also exhausted. And so I started my first business in that way. It was a really great business. It would look amazing on paper. I naturally just kind of took off with that. But there was always a little something that was missing for me. Again, it's like I've discovered something, I'm doing something, it's quote unquote successful, but something for me still was like something is unfulfilled. Like I'm unfulfilled and I don't know what it is and I don't know what that's about. And then in 2020 is when I discovered human design. And I was like, this is it. This is the thing that is going to fulfill everything for me. And it really did feel like my purpose, and not just the tool itself, but what it gives us as individuals, right? That permission slip to be like, actually, this is who I am. And I don't have to try and fit into a box. I don't have to do a cookie cutter approach in life or in business. I can actually trust myself that the things that feel good and natural to me are good and natural to me, even if other people don't get it.
Totally. What a game-changing mentality to have, to just like, I have it within me. It looks totally different than what society expects or says is the right thing. And then,
Mhm.
like, the incredible success that has come from that.
Yes.
What was it about human design, like, that you're like, "This is it for me. Out of all the modalities,
Mhm.
this is the one."
Yeah, good question. I think when I discovered my energy type, that I'm a projector in human design, and understanding what that meant, I'd realized that I've been living my whole life out of alignment because majority of those that were around me were manifesting generators or generators. So I was like, oh, I'm literally living a type of way that is against my own energetic blueprint. And it's like, no wonder my story has always been cycling in and out of burnout, constantly feeling something was missing, constantly being like, life is good, but something isn't quite right still. Like I felt like there was this missing piece of the puzzle for me. And so when I discovered human design and just my energy type alone, I was like, this makes so much sense. And I had an immediate self acceptance of the fact that I'm not actually lazy and that I don't have to feel tired and exhausted all the time. I'm just not utilizing my energy in the way that works for me. And I was, kind of living this life of trying to keep up with the Joneses from an energetic perspective, and being like, actually, I don't have to be doing this in any different way. I have my own unique way. And when I tapped into that and just completely shifted the way I run my business, everything changed. My health changed for the better. My relationships changed for the better. The way I worked with my clients, everything shifted.
That's
Really.
really awesome. I will say the one thing I've learned after learning of human design is just what a great tool it is. And you're right, it does give that permission slip. It kind of tells you your energy type and helps you guide you down that path of where do I even start? Well, now I've been given all of this information that just tells you directly what, like, all about yourself. It's really incredible. So, and I thank you from afar because Cherry has taught me so much about human design.
Yes, that ripple effect. That's what we
Yes.
want. Yeah.
Exactly. It's, like, founded as fast track to authenticity. One of, like, the most fun parts of these calls that I'm on are when I hear someone say, "Wait, so I've done that my whole life and I thought it was wrong, but you're saying that's my energy type?" And I'm like,
Exactly.
"You are so seen in all of your glory right now and keep doing that." Like, the moment that I
And
get
it
to
is
say,
being seen in that, isn't it? It's being witnessed, like somebody is seeing you for who you really are in that moment. And I always like, I do love human design, but I always want to also talk about the fact that we don't want to give our power away though either. Like this is not about putting ourselves in a box. It's actually about freeing ourselves. Where some people, I know might have a belief around human design of like, okay, if I'm this energy type or if I'm this profile, therefore I can and can't do certain things. But the reality is it's just in the way that you do it. It's you can do anything that you want to do. So it's definitely not about putting you in a box. It's actually about freeing you from the box that society's actually stuck you in.
yes, so much so. That's like part of my like spiel at the beginning of the call. Like at the end of the day, we are all our own guru and we all have this truth within us. We get to check it all against. And this is your grand experiment. And I'll be honest, 10 out of 10 experiments have worked out better than I could have ever imagined. However, if it doesn't land, it doesn't land. So specifically like on the business piece, I'm so interested in this. How do you bring it into business and how do you work with other types in business and like guide them, like especially in business like corporate world where that is
Mm.
so like disconnected? How do you
Yeah.
bring it?
Yeah, such a good question. So I started off bringing this into my e-commerce clients that I was doing my digital marketing business with. And because I saw as a business owner the shifts that I had straight away from understanding myself better. And I was like, even if we started just with small business owners, how much different we would set up our businesses, we would create our offerings, the different ways in which we would work. And then I started doing workshops for local business owners that then got people sort of like real estate agents, things like that. They were like, what is this? This is really interesting. I always refer to it as sort of like the modern day Myers-Briggs for them to kind of get a concept of how this could be utilized in a business sense. I am a very strategic person, so I'm very much a spiritualist, but I'm also very much a realist. And so I don't want this tool to only be available to people who think one way or are open to certain things. I want it to be available to anyone and everyone, regardless of how deep you are into personal development, spirituality, or not. I think everybody can gain something from this. So I really took the strategy out of the human design components, like how do you apply this to a business, which would be if we think about our energy type, it's how you work in the business, it's how you show up, it's how you structure the business. So I started to do that with like working with agencies, real estate agencies. Some of my clients are physiotherapists, um, counselors, those sorts of people that have teams, bringing it into teams. Now, when we talk corporate, there's always going to be a level of corporate that will probably never be open to this because it's just the fact that you need someone's birth date. That's always going to be a bit of a sticking point. But I do believe that there are companies out there, like NLP is in corporate now. Right. So NLP, if you think about it, there were people, and they still are some people that are like, oh, NLP is a bit weird. My husband's a scientist and he actually works for a really large global company. And they have a part of the leadership training. There is a woman that she specializes in NLP. And I was like, wow, 10 years ago, that would never have been a thing in corporate. But yet here she is doing NLP in corporate, and it's a big multinational company. So I do think that there is potential for human design. And it's my biggest goal is to get it into as many businesses. Because if we think about human design and what we now know, imagine if we could understand it on like an employee level, how much happier people would be in business and at
Yeah,
work even.
totally.
I
Hugely.
completely agree. And
Oh, go ahead,
I think
Summer.
that it can be done. I was gonna say, I think that it can be done just based off of like the Dare to Lead program, for example. The Dare to Lead program was incorporated into lots of corporations, but you're right that the birthday aspect is going to be a hard piece to overcome. Just have to make sure that the
Exactly.
employees know that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also, like I said, there will be certain companies that are more progressive that they'll be more open to this sort of thing, even if they're not going to use it in an every day-to-day scenario. Even just team building could be really
Really.
awesome. And I've done some of that where we even I had a government body in Australia reach out and say, hey, we want to do some team building. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. That's so
Very
cool. And they did say to me, they're like, "Look, we might not wanna use, like, energy types and things like that." And I was like, "That's cool. We'll call it personality types. We can rework things." And I know for people who are very traditional with the human design, some of them aren't gonna love that idea. But again, for me, it's all about, like, how accessible can we make this knowledge across everywhere rather than only having it accessible for a small group of people.
Absolutely. And really quick for our listeners, will you explain what NLP is just really quick? Like a brief
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's neuro linguistic programming. So NLP really is about, in a nutshell, it is about helping people understand like their unconscious beliefs and actually changing. It's like belief systems, values. It's getting you really connected and understanding what your core values are, and then also shifting beliefs and that those unconscious pieces that kind of run your life.
Mm, yeah.
Mm.
And I'm just thinking how if we had human design in all different types of professions, you're right, so many people could be so much happier, like customer service agents,
Yes.
actually thinking about how your design fits into that role and why that matters to you, why you do that. It can take so much of the weight of the burden of being at work off of your shoulders.
Yeah, and
Totally.
it really redefines, I think, how we hire people as well. Like I've got a client that I help them recruit through, and I use human design in the recruitment process. And look, most people are pretty comfortable giving their birth date if they just say to them, "Hey, we use human design as part of the, just to understand you better, make sure that this is going to be a good fit for you." Most people are really curious and open to that. And what we found is we're reimagining roles. So rather than hiring somebody and sticking them into a very structured role, we can actually look at, well, what can that person bring to the role to actually reimagine the role itself instead of the
Oh,
other way around?
I love this. This is definitely a dream of mine. And I have
Yeah.
an idea of starting at like an entry level. So like my coaching program that I'm working on right now that I'm going to roll out here a little bit. I'm following the Calvin steps, the wild success steps.
Yes. Yes.
But um, like human design for business development representatives. I figure if we get a bunch of people at that level, and it would be, how to be a six-figure business development representative, because when we are moving
Mm.
aligned, and that's my story, actually. I'll just give that really quick. So one of my
Yeah.
biggest experiment was human design, waiting for the invitation on my job. And I was in healthcare, I'm in healthcare tech business development. I was working longer hours than everyone, making more phone calls, sending more emails, and getting half the results of my colleagues, and still confused. And then I found human design. I was like, okay, I'm just going to apply this strategy of wait for the invitation. I'm going to master this role of business development representative, let myself be seen on LinkedIn. And that's like the big piece. And then I started having recruiters reaching out to me. And one after the other, this job is getting better than the next one and the next one. And my last job, the job I'm in right now, I had a feeling that I was needing to move from my old organization, but was following the strategy. And the guy that hired me reached out on a Monday and was like, I would love to have a conversation with you. I love your work. I told him I'm not actively looking, but you found me, so I'll take the conversation. Let's set it up for Thursday. And Wednesday, I log into work and I have an HR meeting first thing. And I was getting laid off that day. And the universe had my back. Like my energy already was like working for me. And the interview that I had set up for Thursday ended up being the organization I'm now with 2 years later, and it's better
How
than I could imagine.
incredible.
Isn't
How
that
incredible.
love it? So yeah, I'm gonna use that and bring that to the business development representatives who are gonna run companies one day, start at this entry level, and hopefully we can get a bunch of people on the ground level. And with this next generation coming up in leadership, we can really bring
Amazing. Oh, I'm so excited for you.
thanks. I'm so
Me
excited
too.
for all of us. I love this mission that we're on.
So
And
cool.
yeah, I had another question here around. Okay, so where where is this? Okay, so many entrepreneurs hit a ceiling, and not because of lack of skill, but because of their energy or team or systems that aren't aligned. So how do you help them recognize that plateau specifically and shift out of it.
So the ceiling piece in particular, so when you talk about like the ceiling, do you mean just in their like career overall or energetically?
I think kind of both. Like someone that is working kind of like maybe where you were and yours, where you were like, this job looks great. It's on paper and everything. Like if someone isn't aware enough to know, like something just feels off, but
Mm.
maybe they are. Maybe something does just feel off, and that's what it is. How can we recognize that before we get to burnout?
That's such a good question. And I think when we talk burnout as well, a lot of people think burnout looks the same for everyone. It can be energetic burnout, it can be physical burnout, and I think what's important to understand is that whatever burnout is playing out for you and the thing that you're kind of hitting that ceiling on, I think if there's any kind of pattern in your life where you keep, like, there's this cycle that keeps playing out, you've got to look at that eventually and go, why does this keep happening? What is going on? And for me, like I said, my story was that burnout. I very much, I was always sick in high school. I burnt out in my corporate career many times. I was very similar to you, Cherry, where it was like working overtime, working hard. For me, it was, especially for us projectors, right? Like we want to be seen and we want to be validated in the work that we're doing, but that can kind of come at a cost eventually because we don't necessarily see that in ourselves. So we can look for it outside of ourselves. So what I would say to anyone is if you've got some kind of cycle that just keeps playing out, by the time we usually hit about 30, we kind of have to start looking at that and going, okay, I keep doing something else, but then I end up in the same result. So what is the theme playing out here? And for me, it was definitely the energetic piece of overworking, working really hard because that's what I kind of linked my value to. And so I would say number one, you've got to get really clear on what is the pattern I'm playing out? What is the cycle I keep finding myself in? And just kind of that self-inquiry about why do I find myself in these positions? What am I trying to prove? What am I trying to achieve? What outside validation am I seeking? And it's not because we're wrong for these things. We're human and we're taught that there's certain things that make us valuable, right? And we
Mhm.
kind of go and chase that. And I think a lot of us find ourselves at a certain point in our lives where we're like, am I living the life that I really wanted to live? Or have I just autopilot? I'm just on autopilot here and I'm just living a life that everybody else said was really good.
That
Totally.
makes so much sense. It's like right around the time of our Saturn returns.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
Big one.
Linda, what are some of the most common misalignments that you see?
Oh, that's such a good question. The most common misalignments, I would say, is what I see, especially from a business perspective, is people starting a business that looks like somebody else's, right? Same offers, same structure, same everything. There are so many amazing ways to run a business. Like there's so many incredible structures to do that within. But when we start to understand our energy type, especially, we can kind of be like, okay, cool. I'll take some of this and I'll take some of that. And when we want to open our own business, we are entrepreneurial, right? We want to already do things our own way. Yet what we tend to go and do is we go and start our own business and then look to somebody else and be like, you tell me how I'm going to do this, right? Which at the beginning, it's helpful because you need some kind of framework. But then what happens is we just create another box to fit into and do things a certain way. So what we really want to be able to do is trust ourselves enough to be like, I'm going to take some of this and I'm going to take some of that. And I'm not going to look at somebody else and be like, they're better than me. I'm not going to step outside of my own inner knowing, because generally when we start to learn more about ourselves, even through human design, we actually realize that a lot of this stuff we already knew about ourselves. We just didn't trust it enough and we outsourced everything. Did that answer
Mhm.
you going on a rant?
Yeah, no, it did. It does answer the question. Because it does answer the question, what are the most common misalignments,
Mhm.
especially whenever it comes to somebody that I think is in the role with like a teamwork or an ability to start their business or run their business. What would you say to somebody in a corporate position that are
Mhm.
there, what are the most common misalignments in the workplace that you see currently?
The biggest common misalignment in workplaces is often how people are either communicating or the lack of communication. And also, there's some people that we work very differently. For example, there's areas of the chart that will have somebody thriving under pressure and somebody else not thriving under pressure. So, what we see in the corporate environment is some people are praised for thriving under pressure, but they're built and designed that way. And then if you're actually not built and designed that way, you're constantly going to feel like there's something wrong with you because you're like, yeah, I don't like being thrown in the deep end. I don't like doing things last minute. And then that becomes a measure of how good you are at work. But the challenging thing with that is it's actually not a measure of how good you are. Just some people have a skill set that others don't. And what we're doing is we're actually making one person wrong for not having that natural skill set versus what somebody else does as a natural skill set.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so true.
Lindell, in your own business leadership, which human design characteristic of yours do you feel is your superpower and which is your quote unquote growing edge?
Ooh, okay. Superpower, which I never would have put value on this, by the way, especially coming from a corporate side of things. But my superpower now is that as a projector, I'm really good at just seeing patterns and how things will play out. So I'm very, very good at, for example, when I help people hire, even in my own business, when we've hired team and stuff, I can tell the person that's going to quit in 2 months versus somebody that won't, simply because of there's just these little patterns of behavior that you can tell if somebody is struggling, if maybe they weren't quite honest with what they really want, or they think they want something and then they come into a role and they're like, I don't really want this. But, again, it's like all of this conditioning stuff that we're playing with. I'm very good at seeing things before they happen, not because I'm psychic, but more it's like being able to zoom out and kind of watch what people do and how they interact. And then I'm like, I think I know what's going to happen here. And I'm usually always right. And so I think it's a real superpower, not only for, when I'm teaching and I've got obviously my program, or if I'm helping my one-on-one coaching clients, when I start to pick up these little threads, it's really cool to be like, I know what's going to happen here. This is what's going to be. So what that really does in my own business is I can see the roadblocks before they come and we can navigate that. Where, in the corporate world, unless you've got a piece of paper and you've got the credentials and all the things, that's not going to be seen as like, who are you? Well, how could you know that? Right. Whereas it's just a natural skill set that I have that I can just see things the way that they are. And also as a projector, we have this natural ability, we kind of data collect throughout our lives. So we're constantly paying attention to what people are doing, what patterns are playing out, what's happening. And then so when something happens, we automatically, and that's where we want to give advice, we're automatically like, I think I know what's going to happen here, because we're constantly connecting the dots as we go. So I think that's a real skill set of mine now that, like I said, is not something. When I first learned this about myself, I was like, yeah, I definitely do that. But then I was also like, who's going to pay me for that? How do you sell that? Good at seeing things,
Oh,
trust me.
strategy optimization. But I totally feel you on that. And
Yeah.
something that I've had to just really trust, and something that I feel like is true to be about projectors, is when we're seen, like we're recognized. I mean, necessarily don't always have to have the piece of paper. It's like really just the biggest piece is that we're ensuring that we're being seen in those spaces. And that's been like, it's very uncomfy because the world says that we need to have these things, these pieces of
Yes.
paper and proof points and all of this. But just trusting that has
Hmm.
really like given me a lot of opportunities. And like, that's such a huge thing in these calls that I have with people. It's like self-trust is a practice and is kind of required here, because like you're doing a great job and your energy like chart says that this is exactly what you should be doing and you are doing it. And that sense that you feel like it's still wrong. And I invite you to trust. Um, and like going through the chart and talking about it and seeing where, well, that's not how I do something, even though my chart says this is, or yeah, my chart says this is probably what's going to be like the flowiest energy for me. That to me is like, okay, that's an opportunity for maybe some deconditioning. How
Yes.
do you like invite someone to start a deconditioning process on something?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The deconditioning, number one, I always want to say to people, it's not wrong to have to have conditioning. We all have it. And you could have the most amazing upbringing and you're going to have conditioning. And same with the shadow aspect of things, right? I don't believe to get rid of any of that. We're just integrating it. We all have that. So when people want to start doing the deconditioning, it's really just about awareness. It's about getting really aware and also very honest with yourself about what are the things that you're like, actually, do I believe in that? Do I agree with that? Have I just taken that on because that's how I was raised? That's what everybody around me said. And then to just start creating aware and getting curious about what are your beliefs? Like, what are your beliefs around big concepts like it could be religion, it could be spirituality, and also giving ourselves permission to change our minds on all of that. To be like, cool, I'm going to go through a deconditioning process because I'm now aware of something. But I think as humans, we do love to swing from one extreme to the other. So I think a lot of us can resonate with going through a spiritual journey and then going full one way. And then we kind of come out of that and we kind of come back to the middle a little bit. Maybe we go all the other way again. The idea really is with conditioning is to know that it's a constant journey. And it's really just about it's about awareness, just bringing awareness. So again, getting out of that autopilot of like I just this is how I do, this is how I live, and actually ask yourself, why do I have this belief? Where did that belief come from? Is it still something that I hold to be true, or do I actually not believe in that anymore?
So really, truly, just question, reflecting, getting curious about it. Like
Yeah.
my energy type says that I make decisions best this way.
Mm,
I've been making decisions this way. Does that work for me? Would I be interested in trying it this way? Like, what would it look like if I tried
exactly.
it this way? All of these.
Yeah, and it's curiosity. We don't have to just completely stop and just completely become something in an instant. It's just a curiosity of like, okay, what if I just tried it this way and just saw what that looked like?
Totally.
I think it's really important to do self-audits regularly and frequently.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
for podcasters and solopreneurs, what is one human design practice that we could integrate tomorrow that would shift how we show up and lead?
Energy, energy type. Yeah, definitely understanding your energy type, because that is how you are going to be able to be sustainable with your growth. Because when we look at business, um, at one point or another, there's something you're going to want to scale, and so when we scale, we evidently scale our problems as well at the same time. So if you're out of alignment energetically, you're just going to have more of the misalignment, which eventually it ends up in burnout, resentment of the business that you're creating, resentful of the clients that you have. I definitely experienced that. I had too many clients. I was taking on too much. And then I started getting irritated with my clients. And I'm like, these people are paying me. Why am I annoyed with them? Right? Like that's on me. And so I would say the energy type is definitely the foundational piece. When you understand how your energy works, you start to go, okay, I see actually how I would restructure things or how I would show up in my work day and where I give myself permission to not work like somebody else does.
Yeah, I love this because it kind of relates to me. I can relate this to like flow and learning a new hobby. You have to know the basis before you can get into the flow state. If you don't know the moves, you're going to stand there and scramble your hands and get frustrated and give up. But by practicing those moves and learning how to do a weave or how to do a shuffle, you can
Mhm.
incorporate those later on in your flow state because you understand how to do those things. So understanding your energy type are those moves. That's the basis. And once you have that, you can build onto that in any aspect of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it also talks to the consistency piece. Like when we talk about business, it's like you've got to be consistent. You've got to show up in this way. You've got to do things this way. And the reality is, consistency isn't going to look the same for everybody. Like every energy type is going to have their own type of consistency. Instead of being consistent on a daily basis, it might look like that you're consistent over a week. base, right? So it's
Mm.
kind of like you're looking at it more on a macro level. So some people thrive of daily to-do lists, where others thrive more on a weekly master list and be like, I'm going to go with, 'cause especially I'm an emotional authority in human design. So some days I feel more like this task versus that task. And so I allow myself my week to be like, okay, these are the big things I've got to get done. What do I feel like doing today, right? And obviously, in the reality of business is there's going to come times where you're like, oh, I've just got to do the thing I don't really want to do right now. But I think there's, when you understand your energy and also how we make decisions in business is really important. Knowing and understanding how we make decisions will really help also just relieve that resistance of constantly feeling like you're going against yourself in some way.
I almost feel like starting off, like the energy piece is absolutely crucial. So like we can never leave that part out. But for someone, I'm like, do you want to know if you are making top tier decisions? If your decision making is tailored to you specifically, top tier just for you. And like I think feel like everyone to be like, yeah, I want to make sure that that's it. And how many
Yeah.
times have I heard someone be like, yeah, I get that gut feeling, but then, I got to talk to my people. And sometimes I go with what they say and I wish I had just stuck with my gut. How, other than just telling someone, just trust yourself, like, how would you help someone trust themselves and like really follow that gut feeling or that splenic, quick yes or no?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think what I would always refer people back to is what has been working for you? Because a lot of the time when we're like, oh, but I don't trust myself, it's like, and how has that worked out for you? Because the reality is, as adults, we just have to get to a point where we're like, cool, I'm just going to have to do something different if I want something different. And so I think sometimes it's not as easy as like there's not a magic answer or cure for some of this stuff. It's like you just have to do it differently. You just have to be willing to try it out. And so if you're the reality is, I think, as well as business owners, is that we need to make sure that we understand that sometimes we're going to have to do things uncertain. We're going to have to do things scared. We are not going to always trust ourselves. I had a coach last year when I was doing this big transition from one business to another. And I said to him, I just don't fully trust myself in this. Like, I'm scared. Like, I'm really nervous. Like, what if this doesn't work? And he said, okay. And he said, so are you telling me that you don't truly believe that you're capable of this? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, I believe that you're truly capable. He goes, so just borrow that for now. He goes, because I can't force you to believe in yourself. He goes, but if you've got to borrow my belief, then take that and run with that. And I kind of thought, wow, I can do that at least. Like, I
Yeah.
wasn't fully in
That's
my
awesome.
own belief, but I was like, I'll borrow yours then. That'll do.
No, I love that. Like, just another like point back to how like it takes a village and like the
Yes.
support groups that we have around us are so important. And we
Really
can
is.
borrow the confidence from the people that we really trust and certainly the people that we're paying to coach us along the way.
Exactly.
It's
And I
even
think
better.
sometimes we want to micromanage the outcome. We want to control the outcome. So that's why we're also like, oh, but I don't believe in myself or I can't trust myself because what if?
Mhm.
And it's kind of like, but also when we just start moving in that direction, you might actually find it turns out very differently, but even better.
Yes. Well, I love what you said there because it's like that piece of I don't trust myself that it's going to work out exactly as I want it to, as I see in my head. And it's like, well, that really doesn't have that much to do with you. Can you trust
Exactly.
yourself to take the next step forward? And then like the
Exactly.
next step forward. I love that. And something I've been sharing, I'm like, maybe try trusting your gut on something small and just see how that goes. Like about what you eat for lunch and then like check in and was it, and then go and so that like build these little proof points for yourself.
I
Um,
love that. Building that evidence.
yeah, totally. Now this is kind of giving back. We're a little bit like I'm jumping all over, but I just had this like I would love to know your thoughts on this. If you were to build out like your dream human design team for business, what would it look like?
Good question.
My dream human design team. Okay. That's cool. All right. So I would literally have one of each energy type because could you imagine like how good that would be? So I would have, I always, when I'm hiring, I like, especially with like virtual assistants and stuff, I do want like a mani gen or a generator because I need them because I'm the non-energy type. So I'm like, I need the execution piece because I'm kind of like, I see the big picture, I see the vision and all of that. So I would definitely have one of each. But the way that I would structure it is I would have like the reflector energy that is like constantly tuning into the environment of like everyone. Is everyone happy? Is everyone thriving? Is everyone in their genius zone? What needs to shift? What needs to change? The manifestor for like, this is the way we're going. I like manifestor energy is so beautiful. I always see them as like Vikings. It's not my visual because I'm just like, they're the ones that are like, I'm going to get on this ship and I cannot see past, the horizon, but there's something out there and we're going and we're going to get it. And you just see it and everybody else is like, we don't see anything. And then they're just like, no, let's go. And it's kind of like that energy of like, are you getting on the ship or not? Either way, that's cool. But the ones that are getting on, let's go. We've got somewhere to be. So I really kind of think if I was going to take this like big business idea, be like, I'd have a manifestor, like being like, where are we going? And then I would like be guiding everybody as a projector and then having, that beautiful Mani Gen energy that's kind of like, give me all the things. Like, I'll put a fire out here. I'll implement that there. I'll do that there. Have that beautiful generator energy that's like, let me make sure that you're all on task and everyone's going and, the steps are being covered. And then just having that reflector energy that's just kind of tuning in constantly. It's like what needs to shift, what needs to be tweaked, to just make sure that it's like in harmony.
Ooh,
That
I love
sounds so nice.
yeah,
So excited to do that now.
the most like flowy like business team ever. That feels so
Yes.
good. I
Yeah.
love that. And I feel like that's something I feel there seems to be some sort of paradigm shift around energy and like spaces that weren't talking about energy are starting to talk about energy. And with the advent of AI and like all of the jobs that it will like take, I feel like human design is so important in knowing that, like as far as how your energy works with other people is just so vital, and it's going to become important to teams and I think to organizations.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, it's not about what you can do, but what is your energy and who are you as part of this team? Like, what do you bring more than just your skills?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This actually leads me into a question that I have for Lindell. What is, as you talked about AI Cherry, what is one tool that you can recommend, or maybe even just a practice, something that you can recommend as a daily habit to any leader that wants to lead more by their design than by default?
Oh, good question. One tool. I would always, what would I say here? I want to say again, like I know I harp on about energy. What I've done is I use AI. I love AI. I think it's got its place. With my chat GPT, I've told it all about me, right? Like it knows my background, everything. So every time something kind of comes up for me and I'm like, oh, what is this? Why am I feeling stuck here? Or what is this shadow playing out? I like to have a little like chat with my chat GPT, but then I've always got my body graph around. Like I've got it on my desk or I've got it on my phone so that I can always kind of refer to and like sometimes just looking at it and being like, it's this center, it's this gate. And then I like to kind of like, like I know what's going on here. And what I like sometimes is if you can't have the conversation with someone, it's sometimes just nice to have like a back and forth conversation with AI and being like, I'm noticing these patterns because AI is really cool at summarizing very quickly, obviously, all the things that you tell it, and it can kind of pick those main themes. The cool thing with that is, I think, is that you have to be aware and you need to know enough about your own human design at the very least to know whether or not it's giving you the right information. But it's a great reflective tool to just kind of summarize. So sometimes if I'm having a day, I'll just be like, this happened today. And then like I'll just share all the things that I was feeling and be like, I think that it's relating to my emotional wave or whatever that is. And then just to kind of have that little summary, be like, yes, it's likely this, but also have you considered this channel or this gate? And I'm like, oh, of course, that makes sense. Because again, if you're really in it on your own, it's kind of like sometimes you don't see what you don't see. So I think the tool just is to constantly check in with your own design, but also number one, I also want to share, by the way, I don't think we always have to excavate everything in massive depth, but sometimes it's just nice to pinpoint, like, oh, okay, I'm overthinking, overanalyzing because I'm actually not staying curious in my mind. I'm trying to control and I'm trying to, what am I really stressed about? Like, what am I really worried about? So I think it's kind of like a combination of your own self awareness, but then also using AI as a tool to kind of help you, um, I guess, put those patterns together, especially when you've got like a whole story to work through and you're like, something has happened today, or I've had this experience, or even like a whole week of things have happened. And you're like, what is this trying to tell me? Sometimes I think that AI is really good at kind of just putting that all into like a really concise piece so that you could be like, ah, that's what it is.
Mm.
Right. It shows you the patterns from a 12-foot pole.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I love that. I agree. AI has become very helpful lately.
Well, we kind of already talked about how we saw like human design evolving or being applied differently, but I would love, I guess, to go back to something that we kind of talked about at the beginning, but like most authentic self. And like, I love what you say about human design there and like the three pieces that really make up your authentic identity. As we're like coming up, we still have like about 15 minutes left. So I want to give our listeners some like practical tools here and some like practical ways of thinking about it if they're like just getting started on human design. I think that we've like told why we think it's so important, but how can we apply it to the new human design person? And they just learned about human design.
Yeah, I think people can really overcomplicate human design because when you first have a look at it, you're like, whoa, there's a lot of information. And as you just said, the identity piece that I talk about, the identity triangle, which is the type, strategy, and authority, that's really when you understand how you move in the world and how you move in the world in a natural way. What I would say is that the most important part is the embodiment piece, is just to kind of start to try all of this stuff on. Because if we can't embody or fully understand how our energy type and authority works, what happens is that we just have more knowledge and we're like, and what do we do with that now? Or we sometimes, if we're in a lot of people are in their journey where they're learning a lot about themselves, they might be going through a lot of healing. People could get stuck there as well. So what I would say is what you want to do is it's an awareness piece of like, okay, this is where I'm at, this is what's playing out for me, and I can still move forward anyway. So it's like we're really giving ourselves permission to be imperfect in the healing process, the growth process, whatever that looks like. It's going to look messy. You're going to get it wrong. You're going to fall back into old conditioning. I still do after 6 years of doing this work. Like I still have days where I'm like, oh, there's that old story. She's back. And it's like, okay, I just pick it up quicker. So I would say for the everyday person that's brand new to human design, focus on understanding type, strategy, and authority and really start to see how you can start living it. What tweaks would you do in your life? Like for me as a projector, running the business that I was running and realizing my energy, I was like, I can't keep this up. No wonder I'm burning out again. This is unsustainable. So I let go of team. I let go of clients that I was just saying yes to. Um, and I reduced things. I got more time back in my life so I could have more rest because that's something that's really important for me as a projector. So I didn't understand my whole chart at all, but I did understand the energy component and I realized very quickly how misaligned I was. So I just started there.
Right. And then after someone's like kind of they understand their energy type, they understand they're following their strategy, they're using their authority to follow their strategy. What do you feel is like the next piece?
Definitely. So definitely profile. The profile often is something that most people are like, oh, yeah, that's me. Like, I so resonate with that. And that, again, it's another layer of, because, for example, if someone has a particular profile and you share that with them, they'll be like, I always thought that was weird of me that I do that or that I need that, or other people always made that part about me wrong. And then again, it's like that another layer of like, no, this is actually what you need to be fully who you are. And then there's a conscious and an unconscious component of the profile. So it's really cool to help people understand that there's a part of your profile you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's me. And there's another part of your profile that you're going to be like, oh, I'm not so sure. But then other people will be like, yeah, that's definitely you. So it's like you start to see how your personality comes together. And then I would definitely say centers. I love the centers in human design because it's such a cool personal development tool that you can do for yourself. Like once you understand what the throat center represents or the head center as an example, and then what it means if it's defined or undefined, how quickly you can catch yourself in a day or in the moment and go, oh, okay, this is the shadow of this, or wow, how much more embodied am I in this energy now that I understand myself better. So I love also because then you'll start to, with other people, you'll start to notice what centers are playing out for other people. And it's a really cool way to just have more compassion for people. And you're like, okay, I see what's potentially playing out for you. It's like the shadow of this or the shadow of that. And then we just kind of, we make it less about ourselves then as well and be like, that's that person's thing and that's what they're going through. And a lot of us then can also resonate with that, right? We're like, yeah, I've been there. I've had that in the past, or I've experienced that shadow too. So I would definitely say the profile and then the centers.
Nice. Do you have any specific resources for the goddesses that are listening that you'd recommend for those getting started?
Yes, I have I've got a book that I always, oh my gosh, I'm just going to break things over here. It's called Human Design, The Science of Differentiation. It is like a textbook style. I actually give this away in my free 4-week program. One person gets to win this. The author is Linda Bonnell. Um, and it is also like it's authorized and in cooperation with the founder of Human Design, Ra Uruhu. So it's a really cool if you love like a textbook style where some people really like the really nitty gritty stuff. Like this is a really awesome book that I would recommend. Other than that, getting your chart from like Genetic Matrix or Jovian Archives, running your chart and just getting that foundational information, and then just start playing around with it and see how life shows up for you when you try some new things that you've learned about yourself.
And I would say, like, get a reading. There's lots of people doing them for free. Hi.
100%. Yeah.
Like, like, it's just so fun for me to get readings from multiple people because even if they're saying the same thing, this is something I hold on to as a coach. It lands different coming from different people. And like what people are reading in my chart and the way that they say it to
Absolutely.
me lands different every time. And it's so
Yes.
fun. And the book is like being seen in those moments as well. It's totally about being seen. So like as you're
Absolutely.
starting out, let yourself people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing with human design is we all bring such a beautiful perspective because we all have our own life story too. So it's like what you're going to bring to a human design reading will be different to what somebody else brings to a human design reading. And it's all really awesome. And sometimes as well, I think just from our own personal growth journeys is sometimes we're ready to hear something and sometimes we're not, right? We've all had that experience where you're like, oh, I've heard that quote or I've heard that thing so many times. And then one day someone else says it and you're like, like this is the moment that it's all landed. And it's not because the other people were doing anything wrong. It's just like you were ready for that information at the time.
It's all about divine timing.
It is.
So how do you stay aligned like yourself, personal morning or evening routine when you want to reset or get clarity and lead from your best self? Like what's your energy hygiene like? Like is that even a practice for you?
Yeah, such a good question. For me, my what I've done because I understand my human design so well now, rest is something that is pretty much like in my everyday. And rest to me is being able to I love like I'm a robe girl. I love wearing a robe. So at night, like once I'm done, like I'm having a shower, I'm moisturizing and I'm in like some bougie robe, like I'm living my best life. But to me, like that's I'm like I'm resting. So like Friday afternoons, my husband thinks it's hilarious because 4 p.m. and Friday afternoon, the dog's been walked, the house is clean, my son is home from school, I'm showered, there's takeaway on the way, and I'm in my robe. It's like I'm going nowhere. So that is like my rest thing is like I just love relaxing. I love resting. So for me, it's really, really important. The same way I start my day. So I know a lot of people love like these elaborate morning routines. Mine is slow. It's quiet. I wake up before everybody else wakes up. I don't get up and go straight for a walk. I get up, I turn my coffee machine on. I journal a little bit, or sometimes I play with my cards. Sometimes I don't do any of that. I give myself like a space and time to kind of wake up. And then if I feel like going for a walk, I'll go for a walk. Whatever that is, I really just tune in to how I feel, especially also being an emotional authority. It's like I don't feel like business is busy and amazing and big enough as it is. I don't want my rest periods to also feel structured. Because to me as a projector, it's like that's just too much. So I want to allow my rest just to feel like whatever feels good at the time. So the way I start and end my days is very much just, it's not very exciting to most people.
But it is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really important to me. I think when I've always tried to make rest look like what people say it should look like, or it's like you've got to get up in the morning and straight away go for exercise. Like I can't think of anything worse than waking up first thing in the morning and hitting the gym.
I
Like to
agree.
me, like I need to start the day in my own energy. I've realized that's really important for me. So I think people need to trust themselves in what their energy is telling themselves, right? It's like we're all so different, so we can't expect everyone to have the same morning routine. And also I think allowing where we're at in our lives. Like for some, if you've got a whole bunch of small little humans, your morning routine is not going to look relaxing at all, right? So it's like also just giving ourselves grace to be like, where am I in my life right now? And what's reasonable for what I can do? Even if it's giving yourself something really small, like a 30 minutes or 15 minutes with a cup of tea, whatever it is that you enjoy, I think all of us need to come back to our joy, our peace, what that one thing that you just really desire, without worrying about like, am I resting the right way?
Totally. Oh, yeah.
Mm.
The second that we're wondering if we're doing it right, listeners, I invite you to drop the judgment, throw some compassion on it, and drop the judgment.
Mhm.
You're doing it right. That's like,
Exactly, and that's part of self-trust. It's trusting that we know what we need
mm,
as well.
yeah,
Mhm. Yep. This
exactly.
reminds me of our last episode, and we were talking about throw some compassion on it. Just
Yeah.
throw some compassion on us. Dump it all.
Oh,
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, human design is just, it's so gentle and it's just
Mhm.
so like, you're not doing it wrong. We're just saying that your energy might flow a little bit better, and where you might find some quote unquote blocks in your life might not be a block or like something that needs
Mhm.
fixed. It might just mean that your energy maybe your energy's coming up against something, but that block isn't a you thing. It's just
I
not.
love that. I love that you've brought that up actually, because I think a lot of people will say, well, I've now learned that I'm out of alignment, or, my chart says X, Y, and Z, but I'm really happy with life. I'm like, cool. That's awesome. Then that's fine. And I think that's the other thing as well is we don't necessarily fix something if it's not broken. But again, it's that curiosity piece of like, okay, what if I just tried it and just see if something is different? Because maybe it is that you have just been going with the flow, and actually if you looked at things a little deeper, you might change it or you might not. And a lot of people will also say to me, well, I'm really successful in life or business, but I'm actually really misaligned. And then it's kind of like there's two ways we can do. You can be very misaligned and also very successful, and you can be very aligned and very successful. The difference is sustainability, because eventually what's not aligned is going to catch up in some way, shape, or form. So I think it's always important for people to realize that the only difference really is how sustainable it is moving forward long term. Like we all want that longevity of the thing that we're building.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, that sustainability piece, like I hear you on that totally, because I thought that I was I could do all of the things and I have all these leadership qualities, but also I'm a projector. So what did I do? I like just drink so much coffee and took like every stimulant I could find for like a decade. and like didn't and thought that I had it all together. And then I
Mm,
looked around and was like, okay, wait. My central nervous system completely out of whack. If I don't have the stimulant, I'm not functionable. I don't think that's
yeah.
what's supposed to be going on here. And so, yeah, that awareness around, oh, all of these coping mechanisms for me
Yes.
operating under a different energy type. And then when I was able to remove the coping mechanisms, heal the central nervous system, and then try what life is like as a projector, lots of naps and lots of play and all of that. Yeah, everything changed. So yeah,
Yeah, so important. I love that, and I forgot to touch on when you talked about, like, the energy piece, right? Like, keeping your energy clean and clear. I think for me as a projector, it's always making sure that I am not constantly feeling like I need to provide advice and guidance in every conversation I have, that I can just show up in conversations and just receive from others, because I think sometimes it's easy to just fall into that because people will ask you for advice, but it's like sometimes it's like take that expectation of yourself, whatever the expectation is that you feel that you should be doing as well. I think that's a good way of helping keeping your energy clean as well, is just not always feeling like you need to be something for somebody else all the time.
that one, that's a hard one. There's a little bit
Mhm.
of conditioning there, but if you have a 5 line, I think. Just because
Yes.
of the projections that happen.
Yes, I'm raising a little fifth line, so I see how that plays out for him, and sometimes I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm literally conditioning him out of that 5 line. I need to pull myself back into shape."
Like as parents, it's such a gift to know this about our children. And also, like
Yes.
you said earlier, we all have conditioning that's no fault of our own. And our parents, like so many of our parents did the best that they could and did a great job. And so like the
Yeah,
things they instilled in us, just because it's not our energy type, they weren't aware of human design. They didn't know. But I will say,
exactly.
shared this with a friend, and his daughter is 3 and she's potty training and she was having a really hard time. He's like, we go to the bathroom. She's like, I have to potty, and then nothing's happening. And he's like, since you told me about human design, I was like, well, maybe I'll look it up for her and see if I can get some insight because I'm at my wits end with this one. Well, it turns out she's a Manny Gen. He's like, so I learned that I needed to remove the pressure from her to like complete a task. So next time she said she had to go potty, we go to the bathroom. It's on the toilet. I bring a book. She wants to sing a song. We're reading. Next thing you know, she's potty. And now she's like excusing herself from the dinner table so she can go by herself. I'm like over here crying because I'm like, this little girl, A, great job, dad, because potty training is huge. B, this little girl's going to grow up with her dad understanding her on an energetic level.
Good.
My
Incredible.
gosh, that's so awesome.
It
Awesome.
is. It's amazing. And it was similar because my son's a Manny Gen as well. When I learned about manifesting generators, I was like, oh, this is why he's going to chop and change what sports he's interested in. He's going to be really into something and then just move on and not want to finish it. And I remember saying to my husband, because my husband's very conditioned Manny Gen, and I was
Mm.
like, your conditioning is going to trigger you right now because he's about to change his mind on the very thing you just enrolled him in last semester. Because Gen 4, he's gonna be over it. Where my husband was very much in growing up in that era of, like, you start something, you finish it. And, he played a particular sport for, like, 20 years, and I was like, "Our son is not he's probably not going to do that, and he's likely going to change his mind a lot in what he wants to try different things." So it was really cool, again, as parents. Now my husband's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I see why that triggers me," because it's something he didn't allow himself to do.
Yeah. Really.
That does
Man.
make a lot of sense. Mannequins and all their hobbies. Just give it a minute.
What was that, love?
I said, "Just give it a minute and it'll change."
Yeah. And it's amazing because, like, what they create or, like, what they're doing, making things better and
Yeah, it's awesome.
like, yeah. Well, so good. Well, Lindell, this has been so much fun and so informative. And so we have a little segment at the end of our show called the Goddess Oracle. So if you'll finish this sentence for me, um, a true goddess never apologizes for. Like,
wanting too much.
ooh,
Yes.
yes. No, she doesn't.
That
No,
is something that people have always said to me, like, "Oh, I just think like you want too much." And I'm like, "Is that such a thing? Is there such
I'm
a
like
thing? Like, I
everything
just
in
want
me
what I
just
want."
like it.
I want just
Yeah.
enough, thank you. I should want more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like I can be grateful for having what I have and want more. Like, I think that's the other thing is people are like, "Oh, you're not happy with what you have." No, I love what I have, but also more, please.
Yeah. Whatever
Yes, I love it.
like B, we're asking for the highest good of ourselves and all, better than we could have ever imagined. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
who put a limit on the universe. I just don't think it has.
exactly.
I love that.
Compassion, more please.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Lindell, do you have any final words that you'd like to leave our listeners with? And also, where can they find you and connect with you?
I think my final words that I'd love to leave everyone with, and it's something that was really profound when I started the human design journey, is I actually had a coach say to me this quote, which was, "Wherever you go, there you are." And really, what it's about is we can't outrun or outperform who we are, and it's our responsibility to use this incredible tool to decondition, to better understand ourselves, because wherever we go, there we are. And it's like whatever thing keeps presenting itself in our lives, whatever pattern keeps playing out for us as adults, we have to eventually go, right, this something that I need to change, shift, whatever that might be. So I really wanted to leave everyone with that because I think it's a really great, like, empowering way of being like, okay, I get to change things, I get to shift things in my own life. I love Instagram, so I'm always on Instagram. That's where I do all my chats and my stories and my posts. So just Lindell Stewart on Instagram is where you can find me.
Perfect. We'll include that link in the show notes and everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been so great, and I'm just, yeah, I'm honored to be on this podcast and have this beautiful conversation with the manifestor, sorry, and projector. It's so beautiful to have all of us open sacrals having this conversation.
Yeah.
Agreed. Thank you so much.
You can find us on Instagram at Going Goddess Podcast and join our community of Radiant Rebels in the Goddess Collective on Facebook, a sacred space where we take these conversations even deeper.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. You're leading it.
Goddess vibes only. And as always, stay radiant
Stay empowered
and keep going goddess.